This is Joe Wong. Welcome to the Trap Set.
We ascend above our sorrow, set the fear aside.
Because many of you are on lockdown due to the coronavirus outbreak, we're bringing you new episodes of the Trap Set every day for the foreseeable future. Although we've always recorded conversations in person, we're recording remotely for the time being. The silver lining being that now I have access to folks who don't have plans to be in the Los Angeles area anytime soon. If there's someone you'd like to hear on the show, please reach out via social media or email at thetrapset@gmail.com. Today's guest is the inimitable Meshell Ndegeocello, heard here with collaborators Justin Hicks and Kenita Miller. Meshell is a phenomenal bassist, songwriter, and film composer who has charted an artistically adventurous course over the past 30-plus years, but throughout her many iterations has retained a strong creative fingerprint. Meshell spoke to me from her home in upstate New York.
Hello?
Hi, Meshell.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm well. Yeah.
What are you up to?
I just made my lunch. I have a 10-year-old, so we have to stay on the schedule because we have to homeschool him because there's no school for the rest of the year.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time to do this.
Oh, no, this is
homeschooling.
Oh, no, it's great. How are you doing?
I'm great. I feel lucky that I already pretty much work from home.
Yeah.
And, I can stay to my routine more or less. And it's also an opportunity, as some things have slowed down, to just work on creative projects and put out extra podcasts and things like that.
Yeah, I do. I must admit, I'm enjoying, I can actually sit down and just work on my own thing. A lot of tours, I've lost 3 tours, which is devastating just as someone who I employ, about 10 other people. So it's just hard that way, but I am enjoying being able to just sit and listen to music and practice. It's great.
What are you listening to?
Well, today I went on a hip hop thing today. I don't know why. I needed some energetic music, so I started my day off with Ruckus. Mm-hmm. And also Mustard and Bobby Rich, K Camp, Extension. Just kind of needed some energy in my life, So,
What does your 10-year-old listen to?
He's the one who turned me on to Roddy Ricch, so I have to say that. He listens to a lot of the music that he hears on his video games. He'll go research it and find it and then make a playlist on Spotify of those things. But he's also the person that's like, some days he puts on Adele and he just has his melancholy day.
Yeah.
So he kind of goes back and forth, and he discovered Harry Belafonte. So lately he's been singing that out loud,
Like the famous Harry Belafonte
Deo
stuff? Deo,
yeah, he loves that. He plays that all. So I'm like, okay. And then at night he winds down with a little Eric Satie. So.
Nice. Good taste.
Oh, I hope so. I hope he just finds some joy and solace in music. He plays a little piano, but I think he's going to be like a mathematician or something like that.
What is his reaction to this pandemic like? Is he scared?
Oh, no. I guess I shouldn't say that. I wish he could speak for himself. My son has a very particular personality, in the sense that he's very rational. So he's just going with the flow. He's sad that people are alone, but he's not worried, and he just feels that, if we just do what we're supposed to do, this will end in time. But he doesn't he just seems like it's more time to play games. He likes being together, and so I think he's actually seeing more of the good side than having anxiety and worry. But I ask him,
So when you think about being 10 yourself, what
the
do you
golden
remember?
year. Woo! Oh my God, that's a funny question, Joe. I mean, I had such a different life than my children had. My father was in the army and a working musician, and my mother had suffered mental illness. So when I think of those years, it was like a lot of isolation and solitude. Anyway, I spent a lot of time in my room reading and having imaginary friends and making music, and that's what I remember most. Yeah.
Did you play bass right away, or were you playing another instrument at that point?
Oh no, I played the clarinet.
Oh, I did too.
Yeah, and I played in a recorder, you know, like a quartet. You know,
Like
so,
one that you put together, or a school-run quartet?
Yeah, school run quartet that the school put together.
And did you connect to music on a deep level at that point? Like, did it really feel central to who you were?
Oh yes, Joe. Oh my God, music is. It was for back then. It was just religious to me. It was a way for me to find solace. Music, and I remember at 10 specifically reading Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and the music and fantasy books were everything to me. It was my own, it allowed me to create my own world inside my mind. Yeah, music is what alters my brain activity and my emotional state. So I remember being connected even when I was in kindergarten. I have faint memories or things I've told myself, but I've always loved music. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like every time you play, you can connect to that world inside of yourself still?
Ooh. Not lately, I must say. I mean,
Yeah, I found
not
it sometimes it gets harder as an adult to go to that place.
that well. No, it's when I'm alone. I do. When I'm right now. I'm in my attic. I have a house upstate in upstate New York, and I have an attic where I can be and do whatever I want. I can write on the walls. I can turn my furniture around. I have total freedom. And when I'm here, I do. I feel a force, that I can't explain. That just gives me a lightness of being. But when I've had a few performances lately, and I must admit I'm questioning it. Not that I can't find it. I'm just I'm unable to be fully present. I'm constantly thinking about is this a meaningless exercise? Standing up here trying to entertain people.
Is that the goal, to entertain people?
Some gigs that I do, yes, I am hired to entertain. But I just had a performance that I did with Chris Bruce and a poet named Stacey Ann Chen at an amazing museum in Chicago, and that felt good. I could interact with people. We were having a dialogue with one another. I was more free to experiment with my compositions. I feel like sometimes there are these different sides of me. There's like Meshell Ndegeocello who's done this, and people have an expectation of that show. And then there's the other projects where I get to be the self that I am now, and I find more comfort in that.
What's the difference between the self that you are now and the version of yourself that entertains people?
Well, the shows that are billed in a specific way, I have to play older music. I have to address the catalog. People come to hear me sing the catalog. The agent tells me, like, the venue is wondering what you're going to play and, from where. But I have this project that's based on James Baldwin, and that's a little bit more abstract. And it's music I'm really proud of, but it's, for lack of a better word, serious music. There's topics I'm trying to engage you on, about, no party, no slogan, no religion, no race is going to set you free. I'm trying to discuss the topics that he brought about that really make me question my place in society. And then there's like the improv music, which has no lyrics and is instrumental and sometimes completely free. And that's, that I don't have a big audience for. Or sometimes, I want to experiment and just play electronic stuff, and I have to, really persuade people that it's of value. And then there's the scoring self, and I have to adapt to the sonic needs of the director. It's not like cells. It's just some stuff is work, some stuff is about self-expression, some stuff is about interacting with others, some stuff is about being a community organizer, and it's just sometimes hard for me to reconcile and not decompartmentalize.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I feel in my experience that those different types of endeavors can feed each other in a healthy way too, but it's a matter of having the right balance.
Yes, how do you strike that balance?
I should be asking you that question because you're
Really?
much more prolific than I.
Oh, you are. Young man, stop yourself. A matter of fact, you asked what I'm listening to. I love your recording.
Oh,
I find
thanks.
I find myself revisiting it often, sonically and lyrically. I and your scoring is, you're one of the greats. you know.
I don't know about that,
How
but
do you?
thank you.
Well, I think
Okay,
so.
well, fine. I won't be self-deprecating.
Oh, please don't.
I'll try to address your question because I think for a long time I was out of balance. I mean, I was playing drums in bands and scoring film and TV, and at a certain point, I think I got to the place that you're talking about where I was questioning why I was doing what I was doing. And it wasn't that I wasn't grateful to work with interesting people or on interesting projects, but for some reason it felt like there was a part of me that needed to get out that wasn't getting out, and I wasn't listening to that part of me. And so making my record was my way of doing just that. And in order to do that, I had to kind of face myself in a way that I really hadn't in a long time. And then what I found out is that the pain caused by not facing myself exceeded that of actually just going in there and doing the work. But I think for a long time, I was hiding in being an instrumentalist or hiding behind other people's work as a composer to a certain extent. It wasn't like, it's not completely binary, but when you're scoring a film, you're still doing something creative and you're helping somebody else. And
Yes.
but I had to acknowledge after a certain point that I had something of my own to offer, and that was hard for me to do.
Yeah, I mean, you were the one who taught me that it was hard just to work on one score. The only way you can maintain some creative self in that realm is to have a few, so that you don't get locked in that one person's idea of what something should be, and that really helped me. And I totally hear you on that. It's funny though. I don't need a cheerleader. I know I have something to offer. It's not like I have doubt, but I'd like to, at the top of what you were saying, it reminds me of this quote from Bertrand Russell that I keep on my wall. Nothing so much diminishes not only happiness but efficiency as the personality divided against itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I do find myself very, for lack of a better word, I don't know if you're an atheist, but I do feel very blessed that I have someone in my life that gives my life some order. I love having children. I love being tethered in a relationship. It was my friend Joe Henry said, he was like a kite, and like marriage just kept him from flying off into the sun, somewhere. And so I'm lucky I have people around me that keep me grounded and buoyant when I have those moments.
I was just thinking about that a little bit more while you were saying that, and I think that what kind of served as my kite to reel me back in creatively was doing this podcast over the course of the last 5 years. It took me out of a dark place, and it forced me to put something out into the world every week, and also it gave me the opportunity to talk to so many incredible musicians and artists who had gone through these same struggles, and it made me realize that I wasn't kind of like unique in that regard, and that everybody goes through it to a certain extent. Well, most people anyway.
Yeah, there are 2 interviews you did that were just game changers for me: the Phil Collins interview and the Bill Bruford. Definitely aided me in going into the next phase gracefully, because I do see that as you age, even though I believe it's just a marker of time, you do have to think about how you're perceived, not from others, but how you perceive what it is you're doing. And I'm like I said, I'm just lucky to have people like you and friends that like remind me that being a musician is a fellowship, and oftentimes it's stepping away from yourself, from your selfishness with it, and finding something within it that you have to give. I love your song "Nuclear Rainbow" and "Dreams Wash Away." Yeah,
Wow.
because they're very, they resonate in the sense of life. Things in life are so transient, and
Yeah.
I think we forget about that. So,
I remember.
yeah. Or delusional. I love it, So
Well, you have to be to a certain extent, right? Like even the notion of self as a static thing is a delusion, right?
Yes. Yes. Who is this self you speak of? That's
Yeah,
what
I mean
Alan Watts would say.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's all one big universe. It's one thing, and self is just an abstraction.
Yes. It's still scary though. Even knowing that, you say that with such confidence. I wish I could.
I still
I
don't want
know
to
that.
die, Meshell. I'm still staying inside.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh my God, yes. But okay. Let's go on this one. I've been hanging out with some much younger people, and they've really got me on this thing about controlling my brain activity. It's just brain activity, though. The states that we find ourselves in, and as I'm starting to understand, I just really want to have more control of my brain activity until I do not. And so that means controlling how my day flows.
Do you
And so
meditate?
oh yes, I mean, not to sound hippy dippy. I'm not great at it. Sometimes it's 30 seconds, and sometimes I can get a whole hour of trying to watch my thoughts go by and not react to them. I pray. I'm like a Judeo-Christian, Islamic, Hindu, Buddhist freak. I try to get them all in there, and
A balanced
you know,
diet.
yes, a balanced diet of nonsense and mystical rhetoric help me get through this thing called life. I mean, some people drink, some people, have sex, some people like money, but I find myself,
Those aren't mutually exclusive things either. You can be a really
yeah,
religious person that likes to
yeah,
have sex and drink
yeah, definitely.
on a big pile of money.
On a big pile of money. No judgment, no judgment at all. I think I definitely I really like fashion, and I really like, I enjoy fine food, but yeah, I really also like trying to see if I can control my brain activity and the states of mind which I find myself in, so that I'm not harmful to others. You know.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit? I mean, you don't seem like
Huh.
someone that would be harmful to others in your everyday
Oh,
life.
I've been working this out because I have to write a sermon for for a piece. I'm only so good right now, not to be arrogant. I've only gotten to this place because I've done so much wrong. I've only gotten to this place because I used to be a dick. I definitely had an overbloated sense of self. I definitely was, yeah,
What was the
had
origin of
habits.
that overbloated sense of self? Like, was it a defense mechanism, or was
Oh,
it something
definitely.
that you could draw on to become successful in the music world?
Oh, definitely. I mean, anybody wants to get up on stage and sing and be the front person definitely comes from a place. I mean, I sound like I'm psychobabbling. I don't want to
That's
be
okay.
so absolute. Please forgive me.
You're forgiven.
Yeah, I had a childhood where I wasn't seen. And once I started playing music and the feeling of people paying attention or, you know, giving me attention was amazing. And the little bit of success I had definitely inflated my ego a bit. And also, I'm short. I'm a person of color, and I'm a woman who, and I just definitely felt in my upbringing and in society, I had to puff myself up in a certain way, and I grew up a certain way. I was raised by men in the go-go scene, and like people who were drug dealers, and I just have I had a certain sort of personality that could be off-putting, aggressive, or just, just like a braggart. And so I'm 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 learning, like, just like I said, just to stay buoyant and have an easy way of being, so not to be harmful to others within my speech or, just interacting in general.
Um, so for folks that don't know what the go-go scene is,
Oh
it
yeah,
is a regional music from DC where you grew
yeah,
up,
yeah,
and you grew up playing with some of the legends of go-go, like with like Chuck Brown or Trouble Funk
yeah,
or
yeah.
those folks.
Yeah, I would sit in and I knew all of them. It's a very visceral music. It's very drum oriented. You know, it's basically hundreds of people piled on top of each other dancing to this trancing music that never stops. There's no like play the song and then stop and then go to the next song. All the songs are intertwined. It never stops. The tempo, it rarely changes. You're between like 87 and 95 BPMs. It's where you can dance, and it's just an amazing experience. There's no way you can record it. There's no way I could tell you about it and you really feel what I'm trying to say unless you went to one yourself. Mhm.
You went to Ellington School in
Yeah,
DC as well.
yeah.
What did you get out of that experience?
Oh, yeah.
Was
It
it
was great.
positive?
Oh, definitely. Oh man, I did not do well in high school. I'm very close to just like dropping out. It was just a difficult experience. But going to Ellington and having a dance program, a theater program, and a music program, and a graphic design program just opened my mind up to so many things, and I met so many interesting people. It was definitely a better experience than going somewhere where you just didn't fit in socially and there was nothing of interest to you. But I think theater gave me a love of literature, and the dance program led me to music. I mean, I used to want to be a painter. It was just a lonely experience. So once I realized like music was something you could collectively do with other people. It's one of the few things besides like being a soldier where you have a group of people and they're focused on one thing.
Yeah, it's one of the
Or
great.
chef. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes I'm jealous of people that work in a solitary environment artistically because maintaining relationships can be hard. But
Whew.
I think overall, I'm more of a social person, and music has, when I think about it, music has brought me basically all of my best friends in this life.
Do you have a lot of friends?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you?
Do you have friends from childhood?
I have a couple friends, like the person that grew up across the street from me. This guy,
Wow.
he's a teacher now, and our lives have taken completely different paths. He has 6 kids, and I have
Wow.
0 kids. And he teaches at a Montessori school in Milwaukee.
Wow.
And then I have
Wow.
another friend that I grew up with who's a doctor and runs an emergency room from Milwaukee too.
Wow. Do you miss Milwaukee?
No, I get back there
Yeah.
enough. It's a nice place, but it's fucked up in many ways too. I like it out here in LA. I don't know if I would stay here for the rest of my life, but the nice thing is I don't have to. I can move
You
around.
don't have to. Where would you go?
I don't know. I hope to someday get to the point where there's enough of a demand for what I do that I can live wherever I want. You
Yeah.
know,
That's my goal too.
maybe I'm getting closer. Well, for one thing, you're living in upstate. You don't have to live out here or in the city, right?
No, no, no. Yeah, I don't. Like I said, I'm trying to be like you and get my scoring chops together.
I'm trying to be
Uh,
like you.
you are surely you jest, Joe Wong. But
No, I mean
I,
the
I
confidence that you exude when you go on stage and sing. I mean, I only just started doing that,
what?
so looking up to people like you.
Okay, well, I can't wait till I can play with you, and then I think I'll be some help in that.
Okay,
Um, to me, what gives a singer confidence is knowing that there's a band behind them that's going to follow them wherever they
right.
go.
No, that's true.
Um,
That's why I've
yeah,
surrounded myself with geniuses. It's hard to go wrong.
good.
But then it
That's
also
a
feels like a giant responsibility that I have to rise to that level. So I don't take that lightly either. I practice a lot right now.
Do you sing and play the drums at the same time, live, or you have a
No, I'm
drummer?
just singing. I had, at my first show, I had Matt Cameron from
Woo!
Soundgarden and Pearl Jam.
Yeah, yeah.
And hopefully he'll be able to do more. I mean, we had a whole tour planned for May, but it looks dubious now with the climate. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. All right.
But I'm going to be relentless in getting this out there because I believe in this music and I
Oh,
have so much
yeah.
fun doing it. So if it doesn't happen in May, it'll happen at some point.
Yeah, I believe in it too. I wanted to say, hey, when you sing, I have been trying to reacquaint myself with singing alone in my room, and it's funny. I've started to hold the mic in my hand. I know this sounds strange, like where am I going with this? But I was wondering, when you are performing, do you just leave the mic in the stand, or do you hold it? Do you find yourself trying to relate to the audience in a specific way, or are you just in your mind trying to hit the pitches?
Well, right now, what I'm really focusing on is trying to get inside of the song on an emotional level. So when I practice, I spend half of the day, I will think about it and analyze and record myself, and then look for areas for improvement and practice those. And then half of the time, I just forget about that or try to, and just try to get inside of it emotionally. And what I'm finding is that I don't know if it's just that I've been playing drums for so long or playing other instruments for so long, but singing feels so much more naked and vulnerable to me, and is. But on the other hand, it's something that I had no experience in, so it's exciting because I'm getting better at it much quicker than I'm getting better at any other instrument. Like just to experience this tiny incremental amount of progress on drums, I have to work really hard. But with vocals, I'm starting from scratch, so it's kind of it's exciting to feel the change happening.
Ah,
But
that's good.
the most important thing is that it's bringing me back to the visceral feeling and the joy that I got from playing music when I first started when I was a little kid, like what you were talking about. Because I
Yeah.
actually had lost touch with that kind of joy, and I thought maybe that was normal, like how people say when you've been married for 20 years
Yeah.
that the spark is gone, And,
Yeah.
you know, so what I realized is that you can get that spark back.
Yeah. Oh my God. Or it's deeper. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to go to a deeper place, a place that I had an easier time accessing as a kid, and that as I got got older and lived more in my rational mind, I lost touch of that voice.
Oh, that's funny. I singing. I mean, not to sound like a jerk. I'm very emotionally connected to it because, and also, what my mother is. I had a really tough incident, and I had to go sing with Robert Glasper, and I was emotionally distraught. And it's really hard to sing when you're emotionally distraught. I find that singing is how I'm feeling physically really affects how I sing. That what's coming out of me is filtered through my brain activity and my emotions, and so I'm trying to get better at getting past that. I'm an overly emotional singer, I think. Um, but that's why I'm sitting in my room lately, and I'm trying to distract myself by finding a way. I'm like, how to work the mic, or
Hmm.
to how will I engage the audience with a certain sort of banter. It's been said that I come across arrogant or aloof because I don't talk between the songs, and so I'm trying to reacquaint myself with that part of the fun of singing, because I guess you're there to, those people came there to hear your story and your lyrics and your, and be engaged with you, and that's what I'm trying to get better at
That's so
myself.
interesting because we were talking about your origins in the go-go scene, which is like maximum audience engagement. I mean, it's like there's almost no separation, right, between
None.
the band and the audience. And then you're talking about kind of progressing to this almost like Miles Davis level of aloofness where you're not talking to anybody. But I don't know. I don't think you come off that way
I'm trying not
when
to.
I've
I
seen
work
you.
on it.
Here I sit outside your door. Talk to me. Here I sit outside your door. Talk to me. Here I'm waiting, just waiting.
Yeah, I've been working on it. There was a period where people would write the agent or talk or call Allison and ask these questions. But I'm getting better. I'm just trying to, like you said, it is. I want to get renewed. I want to start feeling that. And I must admit, this isolation or social distancing is really helping me with that, because I'm not moving so fast. I'm usually traveling. I'm usually, 200 emails a day, or
Hmm.
you're working on working on working, and
Yes.
it's
Working
so
on working. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what email is.
yeah. You're working on working, and I've also I'm bringing out a lot of my older instruments so I can get off the laptop. I must admit I haven't been enjoying to have to engage with the laptop in order to make music. So I'm trying to find some other ways to do that.
Let's go back to your story.
Oh, okay.
You're done. You finish high school, and then what was your next step?
Oh, well, I got pregnant and had a child at 19. So I realized it allowed me to see that I definitely wasn't the person that was going to try to persuade the young man who impregnated me to help me take care of my child and my life and take care of me. So I got a fire under me, and I tried to figure out what I was going to do. I had one job. I worked at the Pentagon in the food service area, and then I was a janitor, which I liked because I could go in late at night and wax the floors and do that stuff, and then I could come home and work on music and be with my child. But I just lit a fire under me because I was like, this is not what I have planned for my life. I don't know if I would mentally survive it, um, because it was hard to understand that without a certain type of education, there were only certain jobs allotted for you, and especially if you were a person of color. And so I just, like I said, let the fire on that dream of like, I can make music. I'm going to be able to create things that people want to listen to. And
Did you
that's what I
have
did.
people in your life that believed in you at that time?
No, I mean, my father was a jazz head, and it was hard for him to engage me in my pursuits. And in DC, if it wasn't go-go or something edgy like rap music, or hip hop, or just really commercialized type of R&B, I kind of stuck out. So the first thing I did when I could was I went to New York, and I joined the Black Rock Coalition, which introduced me to a lot of interesting people, which changed my life. That got me into Henry Threadgill. I started listening to a lot more jazz. I discovered Joni Mitchell. Um, my mind was open. That's where I, learned about Sun Ra and Nina Simone, and I just started to plant other seeds. I grew up in DC, but I liked Van Halen and Fugazi and Bad Brains, and I just wanted to find somewhere where all those colors I could express myself with those different colors, not just R&B.
Yeah, and I would say that in the pre-streaming era, music genres were much more segregated and much more seen as signifiers of who you were as a person. So it was unusual to embrace all of those different artists that you just mentioned
Oh yeah,
at
I
that
mean,
time.
oh my God, when I made Bitter, and I handed it in, literally they told me, why do I refuse to make black music? And I was just like, wow, I wake up every
Who
day,
told you
and
that?
I won't say their name, but like the head of the my division and a couple of people in the marketing thing.
What
They just
label was that
literally
on?
Maverick. They
Oh,
literally
that's when
told
you.
me,
Okay, got it.
yeah, they were like, we can't. I don't know how to sell this. I was told that often.
Let's
I
talk
don't know.
about let's talk about that a little bit. So, you signed to Maverick, which was Madonna's label. She
Yeah.
signed you, right?
Yes.
How did you meet her?
Oh well, I didn't meet her till much later. When I got to New York with my child, I was living my life. Had a person that loved me and allowed me to work. I also I worked for Spike Lee. I did like craft service and ran around for errands on film sets. Um, I got a gig, like a weekly gig at Time Cafe, and I would just play my original music. I would just go out and do stuff. Um, then a woman asked me to audition for a Japanese artist. They needed a bass player, and the only demo I had was me singing and playing the bass. And once she heard that, she was like, who's singing? Who wrote these songs? And that sort of propelled me. That sent my demo to Warner Brothers, Maverick, and Paisley Park. And they flew me out there, did auditions for all three labels.
Did you
Um,
audition for Prince himself?
no, just as label people, which was part of Warner's. It was all one. All of
Right.
those labors were all on Warner's. So it was just sort of like this collective thing. But I met Benny Medina, and I really was taken by him. He's very charismatic, and he was like, if I were you, I'd go on Maverick. You're new, you'll be one of two artists, you'll get a lot of attention, and you'll have all the workings of Warner Brothers. And I had heard rumors. I mean, Prince is my idol, my favorite. He's the reason I play music. My greatest inspiration. But I knew if I went there'd be no self, so-called self, which is okay. But I think I wouldn't have been able to explore some of the ideas that I had if I wouldn't have went on his label. This is only in hindsight. And so Benny suggested I do that, and he also introduced me to David Gamson, who was half of Scritti Politti, which was one of my favorite bands. And that was in a time where you had staff production, and so I didn't have to pay for him.
Wow.
And so me and David, it was just like literally musical love at first sight. It was just like I felt like I'd found my brother, and so we started making those records. I also met Bob Power and Andre Betts, and it was like just an amazing experience. Had at that time a great budget. I got to work, you know, how do I say it? This is terrible. Like those first records, I mean, it took me, 10 years of my life to make those, from the time I started writing music at maybe 12 to the time I was 21 to make those records. And like a lifetime. I had my life to make those records. But also with David, who's very slow, I think it took us a year to make that record, like over a year. And it was such a great way of working. It was just amazing to sit and really work on arrangements. And at that time, I was trying to play mostly everything. So it was a lot of programming and going over stuff and just thinking about the music. Who would be a good guest? Joshua Redmond had just got signed to the label. So it was like conversations like that. Who can we find in the jazz department to help, make this come alive? It was great. I mean, he was the first person that persuaded me to listen to the Beatles' entire catalog. He introduced me to Henry Cohn and Henry Cow, all those bands, and a lot of the English stuff. I mean, it was just a life-changing moment in my life, the early '90s, and it's all because of being signed to Maverick. It just gave me access to things I would never come in contact with.
So what was your interaction with Madonna like?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I think I met her once after the signing. Freddie DeMann handled all that, and that was her manager. I met her, and it was surreal. This was like someone I watched on TV. It wasn't really real to me. She was like just like a goddess. We had limited interactions. I recorded with her. If you know me, I hang back in the cut. You've hung out with me.
Yeah.
I just watched and observed, but then I met her brother-in-law, Joe Henry, and that's where I really forged a relationship with him. So I thank her for that. But it's funny. I remember I had this one interaction with her that sticks with me. And it was on the steps of the Museum of Natural History in New York. I don't know why we were together. I can't put that together. Or maybe we ran into each other. And we were having a pleasant conversation, just us two. And then all these people started to crowd around her. And I guess I was like, do you enjoy this? And I guess you do. I guess I couldn't see it. I wouldn't enjoy it. But it definitely showed me, like, some people enjoy the thrill of the star power. And I think that was a moment where I was like, that's not really what I'm going for. I think I'd like to have a career. It's
dangerous.
Yeah. I think at that moment, I had a moment of clarity that was like, that's not the thing I'm going for. It's nothing wrong with that. But it's like a couple of times I've taught at Berkeley, I go like, being a star and being a virtuoso or being a well-paid gigging touring musician or a session person or a producer, they're all different paths. Mm-hmm. And rarely do they intersect. Mm-hmm. But you have to do specific things for a couple of those things. There's like a specific way you have to live your life to achieve a few of those. Yes.
And it affects your emotional life. Like being a virtuoso requires a certain kind of surrender to the discipline of music.
Yes.
And being a star almost is the opposite of that, where you're not you're amplifying yourself. You're not surrendering yourself.
Yeah, you're jeopardizing your mental health. We're not the dinosaurs. Like, they didn't see the comet coming. But I can look at, you can just get history books and look at people's career. Or I meet a lot of famous people,
Yeah.
I can
I mean,
see
well,
like,
you mentioned the Phil Collins interview, and obviously, he had an incredible career as a drummer all throughout the 60s and 70s. But as a huge pop star in the 80s, I mean, most of his peers from that time are dead. Michael, Prince, Whitney Houston, there's not many of them that survive that.
yeah, yes, and I'm confronted with it now as I turn 52. There's this thing of like, I mean, there's the female aspect, there's the aging aspect, there's also the change in your your tactile movement as a musician. Body pain I'm dealing with, the weight of the instrument, just your view of music as well, your brain activity while playing. Whether you get the jitters or you clam up. There's just a lot to you have to think about. And I feel very lucky that I've been able to just see this for what it is. This is all, like I said, very transient, very fleeting. And I appreciate the people I meet. Like I said, I appreciate meeting you and people like Abe and people like Chris Bruce or Kaveh Rastegar. I meet these amazing musicians who are just amazing humans. And that's what's exciting. And I think you can jeopardize that if your focus is purely on me, 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 me. And eventually you'll get tired of me, 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 and you cannot live up to the expectation of me, 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 me. And I feel like I'm not really ready to sacrifice my human connections.
Well, that's kind of what we were talking about before, is you can't neglect the me if there's something that needs to get out, but it's also really freeing and fulfilling to help other people realize their vision.
Yes, and that's what I want to do. I'm trying to cultivate. I want to be a producer, kind of in the likes of Tia Maceo. I love improvisational music. I come from a jazz world, and I feel like I want to help people bring their ideas to fruition.
Yeah, the thing that's so cool about Tio is that he did so many records. It's insane.
I know, yeah.
I love listening to those outtakes of Miles being like, Tio, play that back.
Yes. I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to be that person.
I love that approach to making music where, those classic records would be made in a single session, 3 hours for a record, for an album.
Yeah.
It's different than how we make records these days because we have infinite time now.
Well, no. Well, I just did a recording. I recorded the music that's based on "The Fire Next Time" by James Baldwin, and I went to Dreamland, one of my favorite places to record. It's an old church, and we all played as a group, and they're pretty much everything's first and second take. Ventriloquism is pretty much first and second take. Very few overdubs. The last 2 years, I've been really trying to get out of that, like Frankenstein, or patchwork skin grafting music, and trying to get people to play together and make and accept things might be a little wonky, or this grid. What is this grid you speak of? That's my other question.
Right.
What is that? The record you love, and you play the vinyl on the turntable that's a little warped. That's what's making
It's
you
always going to be a
dance.
little warped. Right. And every time it
Yeah.
sounds a little bit different because physically
Yes.
the disc is different.
Yes, and that's what's. I mean, it's like that's not to be snarky or crude. I mean, that's why you fall in love with certain women. It's that you feel like it's a different girl every night. It's those little changes in their flow or vibe, or it's what keeps you interested. You know?
I love that. And not only that, you're a different person yourself every night.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing with having notoriety and fame. Like, basically, fame is based on you riding your laurels, and um, it takes a great leap of faith to go like, I know I did that, and I know that's what you like about me, but I hear this too. I hear these things, and that's what's keeping my spirit alive and creative, and I'm not going to jeopardize that for the moments where someone may know my name or shout me out.
So how old is your oldest child? 33?
Yep, 32. Oh, yeah,
32.
32. Yeah.
And then the youngest is 10.
Yes.
That's pretty How many kids do you have altogether?
Just two that are like my own, but I have many children in my life from other people that I have very close connections with. So, I really, I love young people. I love really old people and really young people. They keep me thinking. They keep me wondering about how this all works.
What's the 32-year-old up to these days?
He's very different than me. He works at for a company. He's like a button, suit and tie kind of guy, and he lives in DC. I mean, he's lovely. He plays hockey. He's a big sports fan. Has fantastic taste in music. He definitely could DJ any party, but he doesn't play. He used to play the trumpet. He's a really good drum programmer. But he told me himself, he was like, I see how your life is and the pressure. He was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to do that. Yeah.
That's understandable.
Yeah, he's a very grounded human being. I enjoy his company. And then my other son, who's 10, Atticus, he's just really balls to the wall, kind of just living his best life.
So if you could go back and have a conversation with 10-year-old Meshell, what would you ask her and what would you tell her?
Wow. Just read. Just keep reading. Keep exposing yourself to all mediums of art. Expect the best of everyone until they prove otherwise. And the eyes or sense that you should not trust.
Sorry, could you say that last part again?
The eyes are one of the senses that you should not put all your trust in.
In your eyes.
Yeah.
Where should you put the trust?
Probably in your solar plexus, in your gut reaction.
And what would you ask her?
Oh. It's funny, I've done this in therapy. See, what do I ask now, though? I think I would ask, I would just constantly ask, are you all right? Are you okay? Do you need anything? Are you safe and sound? And if not, go tell someone. I think that's what I've had to tell myself.
And then what would you ask 20-something Meshell hot on the heels of the Van Morrison cover with John Mellencamp?
Yeah. Oh, man. You should have got a better lawyer who would have given you performance royalties.
Oh no.
That's what I'd say. You should have, your lawyer, you should have found a different lawyer because this one did not do a good job. That's what I'd say. Oh my God. How old are you, Joe, if I may ask?
I'm 39.
Yeah. How are you feeling about music?
I'm feeling really good about it right now because I like coming back to what we were discussing earlier. I think I've found a nice balance between facilitating other people's vision and then honoring things that come to me and not dismissing my own ideas like I had for years.
Yeah. Well,
So I'm feeling good about it.
I'm hoping you're gonna want to make something with me, though. I hope you'll.
Well, yeah,
want to be
you
my
wanted
guy.
to work on something together. So when are we doing that?
Yeah. Maybe once this is all over, I can fly out and
Okay.
and hang out with you.
That sounds good.
Oh.
Well, do you have to get back to homeschooling?
Yeah, I should. But do you have one more question, or you feel good about this?
I feel good about this, but do you have one more question?
Oh, I could ask you so much.
Go ahead.
I was going to say you have such from the time I've spent with you, an even personality. Did your father and mother instill that in you? And how much of the way you were raised makes you the person you are? You're just so diligent and clear and organized, and just one of my favorite people that I've met in my time in LA. I just wanted to know how much is that
A
is your
lot of it.
upbringing?
I mean, I think sometimes I wonder, how much control we really have at all, and what's a product of your upbringing multiplied by your genetic code. Both
Right.
things are completely out of our control. But I mean, I would say a lot of it. I was fortunate to have great parents, and my dad was very even-keeled to a fault almost, and my mom wasn't. My mom was pretty fiery and assertive. So I
Yeah.
think both of those things kind of combined in me, and that's why I'm so perfect.
That's why I love you. Yes. All right. I'm glad, but like I said, I'm glad to know you, and please keep doing this work. It's very important. You're kind of like the Studs Terkel of
Okay.
music to me,
I'll take
because
it.
you're collecting all these amazing people's ideas and stories and their brain activity, and please archive well.
I will. I mean, well, thanks for being an amazing person, and thanks for talking to me. And yeah, this week we're putting one up every day, so this will go up within the next hour. It's a way of kind of creating a little community in the midst of isolation.
Okay. Yes.
So I'll be in
Yes.
touch when it goes up. But Meshell Ndegeocello, thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you, Joe. Have a good day.
The Trap Set is produced by me, Joe Wong, along with Chris Karwowski, who also edits the program. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Trap Set, and visit our website, thetrapset.net, to subscribe to our show for free. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please donate to our show. If you can't afford to donate, please tell a friend and give us a good rating on iTunes. Send your feedback and guest requests to thetrapset@gmail.com.